Hello, everybody, and welcome back into the Hockey Writers Podcast and our season preview shows here on the YouTube channel. And of course, if you're listening on our podcast network, thanks for listening. So we're into our Chicago Blackhawks preview, and of course, we've got our Blackhawks banter crew coming in to talk about the Chicago Blackhawks, and of course, joined in by my co-host Kyle Knopp. First of all, Brooke, how's it going on a dog days of summer? I guess it's almost over. How's it going?
It's going well. I'm actually kind of just excited for hockey to start. It's been a long summer.
Yes, it definitely has. And also Gail Kauchak's here, and thanks for coming on like I say, almost a season, almost here. So it's getting exciting.
Hi there. I'm excited to be here and doing the countdown for the season.
So let's get started. Like we always do, we'll start with the forwards, but just as a primer, I mean, Chicago Blackhawks didn't have a very good season last year. Didn't make the playoffs, had a lot of problems, and kind of basically sold the farm. I kind of traded everyone except for Patrick Kane and Seth Jones, Jonathan Toews, those big pieces, but we'll talk about them. But let's start with the forwards, and starting with some new additions, which they had quite a few. Not high big names, but they did add a few people. And we'll start with you, Brooke, and start with the speedy Andreas Athanasiou, who's been around the block a few times with the Detroit Red Wings at first, and then went over to the Kings, I believe, and now he's with the Blackhawks. So what are your expectations of him going into the season for the team?
Yeah, I guess sort of high, maybe not. I'm not saying this in a bad way, just he's kind of struggled. I mean, he was a 30-goal scorer at best, but that was back in 2019 and really just hasn't been the same since. But maybe he just needs a new environment, and a rebuilding environment might be the best for him. So I think at best he could be a 20-goal scorer. You never know. But I think the Blackhawks, Kyle Davidson, the general manager, did say he liked his speed. And the Blackhawks have been saying for a while they need speed. So if anything, he'll just be a speedy winger, a good depth forward that they need. But like I said, don't know if he'll be elite, but he could break out. You never know. That's the beauty of sports. So I don't exactly have high expectations, but I don't have really low expectations either. So it's kind of a good place to be in, I would say.
Well, I've always liked his speed. I mean, even in Detroit, I mean, Kyle can probably speak to that too. It's like, he's had always potential as being a really good, and he was really good in Detroit when he first came into the league. So they're going to like his speed. I know that for sure. So that's a good part of it. And on a team that's not going to have high expectations of winning. So we'll see how he does there. Moving over to you, Gail, and talking about another speedster and Colin Blackwell. And he came up from the Toronto Maple Leafs, he played pretty well there after he was traded there, but now he's with the Blackhawks. What do you think about Blackwell and your expectations of him going into the season?
Well, the thing that gives me pause about Blackwell is that just like with his AHL career, he really has not been able to stick anywhere in the NHL. First two seasons were with the Predators, and then I think he spent a season with the Rangers, expansion draft with the Seattle Kraken, and then like you said, with Toronto Maple Leafs, they picked him up at the trade deadline. So you almost wonder, why doesn't he stick with any of these teams? With the Blackhawks, I know Blackwell will likely be a depth forward, help out on the penalty kill, and really just kind of be a placeholder while some of the younger players find their way in the minors. But that doesn't mean that he can't contribute. General manager Kyle Davidson did describe him. He said he's a heart and soul player, motor never stops. So that's a good thing. And in 2021-22 season, he did contribute 10 goals and 20 points in 58 games. That was with the Kraken and the Maple Leafs combined. Recorded a healthy 91 hits and 24 block shots. He's also a +8 in his career, so that's not too shabby. So he could surprise everybody and maybe end up being a serviceable player for the Blackhawks.
I liked Blackwell when he was with the Predators, and I thought he kind of got lost in the depth of Toronto, it seemed like. So I think this will be a good fit for him.
I think Blackwell could also be a guy that could maybe, be part of that rebuild as well. He's not just going to be a guy that's going to be there for one season, gone at the deadline. I think he could actually contribute to further down the road, because he's not old. I mean, he's still relatively young, I guess. Too. So I'm actually excited to see how Blackwell plays in Chicago. I mean, like I say, not high expectations. These guys can maybe fly under the radar and have some pretty good seasons. We'll see.
He's like one of the only free agents that they signed for more than 1 year.
Yeah.
So maybe they're thinking that along those lines as well, but they really don't have a whole lot to lose if that doesn't work out either.
Yeah, that's right. And he still would have value in a trade if they wanted to trade him too. So he's going to be interesting to watch. All right, back to you, Brooke, and talking about another guy who's been kind of bouncing around a bit, and Max Domi. Again, a high prospect, did pretty good in Montreal. Moved over to, he last in Carolina and scored, I think he scored the series-winning goal, or one of them in the playoffs there. And now he's off to another team. So he's with the Chicago Blackhawks now. What do you think about Max Domi and how he's going to do?
I'm actually excited about this one. And Max Domi is kind of a player I always thought maybe in the back of my mind might be a good fit with the Blackhawks. I know he had that thing with Connor Murphy a couple seasons ago. I know he did that. That was wrong. That was bad. I know that. But I guess I know that. I'm sorry. But I guess they're all made up. They're good pals. We're all good there. So but I like what he can bring to the table. He's a top 6 forward, which is kind of what Kyle Davidson was talking about, that he can play in the top 6, and that's appealing, especially for the Blackhawks, who lost most of their top 6. So that's and then he had 72 points in 2019 with the Canadians. I don't know what's with 2019. Him and Athanasiou had their breakout years, and then, like I said, kind of struggled after that. But the point is, he has potential, and you can say he's moved around a lot, and maybe there's a problem there, kind of like Blackwell, like what Gail was saying. But I also kind of think, on the other hand, there's a reason why teams want him. He's got a high compete, which is what Davidson mentioned as well, will help the Blackhawks. If he plays with Patrick Kane, I think he'll actually do pretty well, because he does play well with other playmakers. So we'll see, but I like it. I don't think it will hurt the Blackhawks at all. He might do well, and if he doesn't, he can be traded. So we'll see. But I like it.
Yeah, well, you mentioned that's a good point about the trade, because he can. Teams seem to like him. They get him at the deadline. They get he moves around. I believe it was in Columbus as well.
Yeah.
Columbus and then Carolina. So that I forgot about that one team was with the last year too. So he's been around the block, and like I say, teams want him, so he must do something right. So we'll see how he does in Chicago.
And maybe he'll stick.
Maybe he'll actually find.
Maybe this is it.
I say he's not old either. I mean, he's not really old. I mean, he's getting up into that upper 20s now, but still has potential to do some stuff. Okay, Gail, back to you. And this is a bit of a lesser known guy. I was trying to find one more person to make it 4 for those editions, and I saw this guy. He's not new per se, but he's come back. So he's come back to the Blackhawks. He was drafted by them, started in 2017-18 with the Blackhawks, went around. He got to the Vegas Golden Knights, previously with the Colorado Avalanche. Really good season in the AHL, 33 goals. With the Colorado Eagles. So we're talking about Dylan Sikura. What do you think about him returning to the Blackhawks? Will he have any impact, or are we just going to play in Rockford all year?
Well, you mentioned all these places that he played, but basically, that's all AHL for the most part. 2018-19 season, let's see, with the Ice Hogs, he was second on the Ice Hogs in points, 35 points in 46 games, and he named the rookie of the year. And in the next season as well, 2019-20, again, second leading scorer, 33 points in 45 games. So he's got that scoring touch in the minors, which is why I really expect that the whole reason that they signed him, to be honest with you, is to be with the Ice Hogs, the Rockford Ice Hogs, this next season. The organization has made no secret that they want the Ice Hogs to be good. They really would like to. They've got a plethora of prospects. And in the name of development and the rebuild, I think that they really would like to be good down in there in Rockford. Sikura, 27 years old, brings some experience, and he could just be a really good mentor for that young group.
I think, we've talked about it on the grind line a lot, but I think when you have a rebuilding team and you're able to be competitive in the AHL and make a Calder Cup run, that's huge, not only for the development of your players, but just the experience of getting those guys to kind of grow to that next level a lot quicker. And so that could be he could be one of those stepping stone guys that kind of helps usher in some of the younger guys and gets them to that next level. All right. Brooke, I'm going to come to you for the big question that everyone is going to be tuning in for, because that's all anyone wants to know this summer, is are you expecting Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews to finish out the season in Chicago? And if not, which of the two or will both get traded?
So here's the thing. Our Blackhawks team just did a thing for the morning skate where we all answered the question, will Kane and Toews
Yes,
be on
thank
the
you,
team?
by the way, for that.
Yeah, and we all answered no. And logically, I think that's realistic. I don't think they should be on the team. Let's put it that way. But also another part of me thinks the team has given them every reason to want out at this point, and they keep sticking around. So maybe they won't. But, and also the other thing is Toews, I think, has been more open up to this point about maybe leaving at the trade deadline. He said he was open to it if an opportunity presents itself. We haven't heard from Petr Kane yet. Honestly, he doesn't really owe anyone an explanation. He's still under contract. He doesn't need to, but that to me kind of signals maybe Toews might be more willing to leave maybe than Kane. But I think out of the two, Kane is more likely to leave just because I think he's easier to trade unless Toews has a really big breakout season and he does become easier to trade. So yeah, like I said, realistically, I would have to say no, but I still think there's a chance they could stay.
Yeah, I think you're right. Especially a healthy Kane is one that will be much easier to move at the deadline and get a bigger return probably for the Blackhawks. But I think if you're asking my opinion, you'll see both of them in a Blackhawks sweater through the end of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, well, everyone out the hockey writers, or at least writes, well, anyone that can get Petr Kane has written an article about getting it. So
yes.
I'm starting to feel like you guys are starting to feel like how I was with JT Miller.
Yeah.
Every article you see, it's like, get Kane, but I mean, it's the thing. I mean, I think Petr Kane will probably go somewhere, and it just depends on what they're going to get for him. And they need to get, I would say, a pretty good package, probably better than what they got to Brinket, which you'd think to Brinket would haul something.
Yeah.
And they both have no move clauses.
That's
now,
another
correct?
problem. Yeah.
So it's up to them, they've got to be the ones that basically say, I want out, before they can management can really do anything.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be the problem too. I mean, they're not just going to want to go they're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, we can't
Sorry,
just
Arizona Coyotes. You're not getting Petr Kane. Let's talk about another veteran who potentially could be traded, I guess, but his contract is a little big, and this is Tyler Johnson. So Gail, I want to talk to you about him. Didn't play a lot last season, had some injury problems to kind of return. But if he is healthy, do you expect him to take a bigger role on this team? Because he's going to be maybe the only veteran left at the end of this season. We'll see. But what do you think about him going into 2022-23?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he'll take on a bigger role. Like you mentioned, last year was tough for him because of injuries. He only suited up for 26 games. And he's currently signed through this season and next, $5 million cap hit. So let's remember, I'm pretty sure it was the Blackhawks got rid of Brent Seabrook's long-term IR contract. And they acquired Johnson contract from to Lightning to shed his salary basically. So no one else is really going to take on his contract. The Blackhawks are pretty much stuck with him, so they might as well utilize him and put him in that mentorship role. He's got the 2 Stanley Cups with the Lightning, tons of experience that he brings to the table. And last season, actually, when he was finally healthy and he was playing a lot, they did some media interviews with him, and he was just really introspective regarding, talking about the team. He almost had like that player coach mentality. So I could see the coaches taking advantage of that perspective. Plus, on the ice, he offers that center depth and the flexibility. His career faceoff is like right around 50%, which is nice. And then, he can play up and down the lineup for the most part. So he can really fit in wherever they need him.
Yeah, his versatility is unmatched, I think, across the league, and very underrated as well. So I always thought that was a good pickup because, we're going to talk about another player that the Lightning kind of had to get rid of in terms of a cap dump. But I think the whole Tyler Johnson going to Chicago is a really good fit.
Yeah, I like him personally a lot. I know a lot of Blackhawk fans are iffy on him, but I personally like him.
Well, we didn't really have a chance to get to know him.
That's also true.
Yeah.
He was injured for most of the year.
People will appreciate him more as he
when he can actually contribute to the team.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I kind of teased the other Lightning player that we're going to talk about, but Taylor Raddysh was kind of in that, traffic in Tampa as well, so to speak, and was kind of shipped out to make room for others. So, Brooke, I want to get your thoughts. Taylor Raddysh had a great finish to the season after being acquired. What are your expectations for the 2022-23 season for him?
I like Taylor Raddysh. Oh my gosh, you know what, guys? For each Tampa Bay player that the Blackhawks have, I'm gonna be like, I really like him. He's a good one. But yeah, I like Taylor Raddysh. You know what? He had 10 points in 21 games with the Blackhawks. I mean, that's pretty good for him, especially because he only had 12 points in 53 games in Tampa. And I understand he didn't have a large role in Tampa. He couldn't. I mean, with the depth they have, he just kind of got lost in the shuffle there. But something that sticks out to me is I do think he will have a breakout year next year. Hopefully, knock on wood. Let's put it out there. But he had 6 goals last year. 3 of them were on the power play. So I expect him to have a larger role, especially on the power play. He brings a net front presence. I don't see him being a top 6 forward. I think he'll stick on the third line, which is okay for him. I think he has a chance to move up if he plays well enough. But I do expect him to have a good year next year. I think he could be a 20-point or more player. I don't think that's unrealistic. But yeah, I'm excited. I think there are good vibes around him.
Yeah, I think especially a third line kind of scoring role, and then power play number 2 could definitely rack up around 20 points easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, Raddysh is, well, again, he's going to be part of that rebuild. He's a younger player, so he's part of that plan. I'm assuming he's part of the plan moving forward. He's not going to be a guy who's going to be traded, within the next few years. So I liked Raddysh's game too. I know you guys talked a lot about him on Blackhawks Banter, so I know a bit more about him than I would normally. So
I know we're always giving you too much Blackhawks information. We're like, oh boy.
I'm getting way more doing these season preview shows all the time. So I have to put together these outlines. I got to pick out different storylines. There we go. Here's a big one. But let's talk about another one. And this is a guy's probably, well, not anymore because they got quite a few guys at the draft, this past draft, but he was the top prospect for the Blackhawks. Probably still up there is Lukas Reichel. And Gail, I know Reichel's been a topic on Blackhawks Banter a lot with Greg as well when he was on the show. Will he become a full-time NHLer this season? Or do you think it's still better he's in the AHL still developing?
Well, I'll tell you what, for my sake and for Brooke's sake and for the sake of the fans, I really hope that Reichel is going to be around this season because it sure would be a lot more fun to watch this rebuilding team if there was a top prospect on it. But seriously, I think that he's more than ready for the NHL. He dominated the Rockford Ice Hogs last year, point per game pace, 21 goals. His one weakness when he was, with the Blackhawks was that he got knocked off the puck too easily, and he had that smaller frame. But he's been focusing on gaining weight and strength this entire offseason in preparation for this. And you want to know what? That Patrick Kane loves to develop these younger players, especially the ones that think like him. So why would you not do this? This might be the last year to expose Reichel to Kane, and basically, he could learn from that. So I think that is just a better place for him than dominating with the Ice Hawks.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough line, right? Because you just mentioned a couple prospects ago that this team wants Rockford to be very strong this year. True. But at the same time, you also want to take one of their better players away because you want him developing at the NHL level with a Patrick Kane and a Jonathan Toews while they're still on the team. So you're kind of in a catch-22 situation there for Blackhawks fans, which is not always a bad thing because it means the future's bright, right? So.
And there's no expectations either, so it's he's gonna have to get ready at some point. Might as well just let him go,
Absolutely, yeah.
And they have that flexibility too. If he really does struggle, then they can send him down and give him some time to work on what he's struggling with. But I really think that he's ready, and I think that they should see that, and that would be the best spot for him to be with the Blackhawks.
Yeah, I absolutely agree there, Gail, and I hope that he has a good enough training camp to where he makes it hard on the team to, have to do anything but keep him up. So that will be exciting. All right, Brooke, we're gonna come over to you to wrap up the forward group, and we talked about individual forwards. Now let's take a look at this Chicago Blackhawks projected roster as a whole, forward style. How does this forward group match up with the other teams in the Central?
You're already laughing, Matthew, because you know what I'm gonna say.
Bad.
Yeah, no, it's not great. But you know what? It's not great, it's really not. Let's just put it out there. There's really I mean,
I love the honesty.
there's very little offense. Let's just
Yeah.
call a spade. There's really little offense here. Besides maybe Domi and maybe Athanasiou might step up. Maybe Kane. Kane is always just a good offensive weapon. But other than that, there's really not much to go on there. They lost to Brinkett. They lost Strome. They lost all their goal scorers. So it's not good. But you know what? I kind of was thinking about on paper, it looks very bad in the Central Division. But you never know. Some players could mesh well together. They could bring out the best in each other. You just never know. That's kind of the beauty of it. But like I said, can't lie. It doesn't look very good or very promising. But like I said, you never know. But unfortunately, in the Central Division, they have some pretty good offensive teams there with the Blues and the Avalanche, and even Minnesota is really good. So it's tough. It'll be tough for sure.
Yeah, like I say, they could surprise, but if you look on paper, they're way below a lot of the teams in this division. So we'll see. They're better than the Arizona Coyotes. So I guess that's
we got that going for us.
Sorry, Pat.
Amen.
Set that bar so high there, Matt.
Yes, it is.
Holy cow.
We're already surpassing expectations.
You'll average more than 5,600 fans a night. So
Yeah, we do. We will.
I'll joke with that. We have Haynes doing this preview coming up tomorrow, so joke with him. So all right, let's move to the defense, which doesn't look too much better than the forwards. But Gail, let's talk about the only real only real addition to the defense they really added in free agency was Jack Johnson. Now Stanley Cup winner from the Colorado Avalanche, which he didn't play a ton there, but now he's signed with the Blackhawks. So what do you think about Jack Johnson? What is his expectations going into this season?
All right. Well, you mentioned that he is coming off winning a Stanley Cup. He's been in the league for 16 seasons, and he actually is at 1,024 games. So that's all been hard earned and could be a benefit to this Blackhawks team. But you almost wonder if his mentorship is going to be more off the ice than on it. Just like we've been talking about basically with all these free agents, is that I think he's another placeholder. He's another insurance policy. Like what happened in Colorado. He actually played more than I think they expected.
Yeah.
If injuries come into play, right, or if defensive prospects need more time, then you'll see more of Johnson. But for the most part, I think he's kind of just a placeholder.
Yeah, he really seemed to be kind of that placeholder. He got a lot of work throughout the season, but once the playoffs started and they got deep into it, he was kind of shelved often, it seemed. So it'll be interesting to see. I think you're right, though. The 1,024 games or whatever, I believe that's what you said. Like, that's a lot of NHL hockey, professional hockey to go through, and just to have that experience, that ability to mentor young kids through what that grind looks like is going to be huge.
I'm actually surprised he's played that much. He's been in the league that long. I was like,
yeah, it does seem like he's been around forever.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. It seems like he's been around for so long, but that's a good for him, though.
You guys get to find out firsthand this season.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
All right. Speaking about another defenseman that has a pretty microscopic season ahead of them, Seth Jones had a decent amount of points last season, but his defensive side of the game, a decent amount of points, but his defensive side of the game left much to be desired. So do you envision him having a bounce back season this year, Brooke? And if not, then what does that look like for the team moving forward?
I think yes, because it's harder to get worse than how he was defensively. I mean,
fair. That's fair.
His minus 38 was second worst in the NHL. I mean, but you know what? Seth Jones has really grown on me a lot. I wasn't really happy about the acquisition only because of his price point, not him, just more his contract. And that's not him. That's our former general manager, Stan Bowman. But the thing about Seth Jones, though, he's been very accountable all season. Like, he came right out even after the season and said, I'm disappointed with how my season went. That was not it was not good, but I know I can be better and I will be better. And you know what? I respect the accountability there, and I do think he will be better. It was just a bad year for everyone in that defense. So like I said, he's got the talent, he's got the skill. Like I said, it's hard to get worse than that. So I think he would say the same thing. So I'm rooting for him. I do think he will have a better year for sure.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that a lot of fans kind of forget about, or maybe don't actively think about when they see a player sign a big contract and then don't perform up to their expectations, or maybe the expectations kind of rumored around that player. But, you know, the players out there to get what they feel is worth to them, but it's on the team to match that price point. And if they're going to pay someone that much money, then, you know, you have to look at the business side of things, not just the player.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Well, the thing is, he's been good. I mean, he was in Columbus and he was their best defenseman for like years. So, I mean, it's not like he can't play that way. And he's still offensively, he was great, but I think he can be way better defensively. And if they have a better system going into this season, we'll talk about the new head coach in a minute, but that defensive, I think the defensive system will be better.
Yeah, so. I agree. And they need him to be good. Let's just put it, he's their number one defenseman. They signed him to be that. So he does have to improve, but he knows that, you know, like we don't have to keep saying it. He knows it. Everyone knows it. So
definitely.
He's easy to root for.
And that's why he's going to be under a microscope a bit more this season.
Yeah, for sure.
Everyone knows he has to be that guy. And so it's on him to produce.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, I mean, they've got they got Seth Jones, Jack Johnson's veteran. They got a few guys that are in that middle range. So they're not like super veteran, they're not super young, but Gail, I want to ask you, what young defenseman? They got Caleb Jones, who brother of Seth, was pretty good last season. They got a few other younger guys. Who do you think steps up the most on the defense that's not named those two?
I don't even know if he'll make the team out of camp, to be honest with you, but I want to give some kudos to Alex Vlasic. He played the last dozen or so games with the Blackhawks last season, and he looks really good. He played actually on the top pairing with Seth Jones, and the two complemented each other well. So I think that experience is going to benefit him as he competes for a spot in training camp. Good size, 6'6", skates really well for his size, and he's already been touted by the coaching staff as one of the best performers in the recent prospect camp. So I wouldn't be surprised if Alex Vlasic basically takes that next step this season.
Nice. Yeah. 6'6" is a big body back there and will be a big replacement for, you know, a Duncan Keith type that that Blackhawks haven't had in the last couple of years. All right, Brooke, coming back to you. Last word on the defense. You gave us your unbiased, truthful opinion on the offense. Let's hear the same. Where does this defensive core match up with the other teams in the Central?
You guys are really trying to give me high blood pressure with this.
I want you to get roasted in all the comments. That's what it's coming down to.
Please stop it. I'm a victim. Okay. Again, not great. I mean, they had the 7th worst defense in the league last year, and they didn't really do much to fix it other than letting Calvin DeHaan go in free agency and then signing Jack Johnson. So it's pretty much the same as it was last season. So I'm not expecting it to be good. And like I said, the Central is pretty good defensively. The Preds have always been good defensively. Minnesota's good defensively. Obviously, Colorado just won the Stanley Cup. I mean, it's going to be tough for them for sure, but I do think there's potential for them to bounce back individually. Like Seth Jones, I think will do okay. Connor Murphy's always really steady, really good. Jake McCabe, I expect him to bounce back. So I do think there's room for improvement for sure, but I don't see it being like massively improved. Let's put it that way.
It's fair.
Only one way to go from where they were, right?
Yeah, exactly. Can't get worse. Like I said, can't get worse. It literally can't. So nowhere to go but up.
Connor Murphy, I always like Connor Murphy. So he's going to be, again, you can't get worse really, unless you get worse than the Arizona Coyotes. Sorry, I keep dunking on that team. But that's if they trade Jacob Chychrun. Without Jacob Chychrun, they're even worse if they do trade him. But it's going to be unfortunately going to be the Blackhawks and the Coyotes kind of fighting for that last spot around in the West. At least that's what I was anticipating. Connor Bedard race.
It's exciting.
All right, let's keep the fun going, I guess, with the goaltending.
Yeah, right.
They have a brand new
Jim Walker.
tandem, and it's not better than the tandem they had last year. So they got Petr Mrazek and Alex Stalock. Both Mrazek's been a starter. Obviously, he's been a starter in the past. He's with the Carolina Hurricanes. Backup with the Maple Leafs wasn't that good there. Pretty good, contract's not that good either. So Gail, we'll start with you and talk about Petr Mrazek. What do you think, expectations-wise, of Mrazek going in? Do you think he's the starter, or is it going to be like a 1A, 1B with Stalock?
No, I think he'll be the starter. He struggled last season with injuries, so hopefully he will be healthy. And like you mentioned with the Carolina Hurricanes, he's been counted out before, but then he kind of bounced back. So I could see him, like you said, the expectations aren't extremely high, but he is also a veteran. He's going to be that veteran presence there. He's going to give them some stability. It might not be awesome, but he could surprise us all and at least kind of admirably hold down the fort in net. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, Toronto was happy to get rid of him.
Yeah.
His contract was not good, and he wasn't playing very well there too. So we'll see how he does in Chicago. Brooke, over to you and talking about the backup, assumed backup, I guess, Alex Stalock. They also got a young guy, Arvid Soderblom, down there that could potentially push his way in there, but Stalock is probably the backup. So what do you think about his expectations going in?
Yeah, goodness, if he's not the backup, then I don't know what they're going to do, to be honest with you. But yeah, that's fair. Do you know what? I was talking to Mariah Stark, who's the Minnesota Wild contributor for the Hockey Writers, and she was telling me how much she really liked Alex Stalock when he was part of the Minnesota Wild and what he brought. So that makes you feel a little better, even though he did struggle last year. He only played in one game. He had some health issues for a bit, and his game he played with San Jose was not good. He had a .746 save percentage in that game. So like I said, not good, but he does bring a lot of experience. He's 35 years old. To me, he's just the perfect backup goalie. Like he's not going to give you an elite starting job or whatever, but he's going to give you at least a good chance as a backup. So that's kind of what the Blackhawks need, just a good backup goalie. So I hope he does well this year for obvious reasons for him too, because I hope he has a bounce back after what he's been through. So can't go wrong there. 1 year deal. That's probably what he is. Just a placeholder until like Arvid Soderblom develops more.
All right. So I have to ask you, the Central's seen a lot of shakeup this summer. St. Louis lost Ville Husso and Charlie Lindgren. Minnesota has a familiar face in Marc-Andre Fleury, who was part of the Blackhawks goaltending at the beginning of last year, and they lost Cam Talbot. Colorado Avalanche lost Darcy Kemper. Yeah. So where does this new tandem match up in the Central and with other teams in their division? And Gail, I'm going to come to you first.
They're still they're still not very good. You've still got names like Jake Ottinger with the Stars.
Yes,
Saros is with Predators, Binnington with the Blues. So Petr Mrazek and Stalock don't exactly compare. But like you said, there are a couple other teams, Arizona, and Darcy Kemper got lost in from the Avalanche. So they might not be the bottom of the barrel, but they're close.
You have to say, like, Saros has to be on that other tier in the Central right now, right? Everyone's kind of looking up at him, and possibly Ottinger if he can continue his heroics from that round one last year. But I think, I like that assessment there of kind of being in the middle of the pack. Brooke, we all know that you won't let us down in your brutally honest opinion. So what are your thoughts on this goaltending as it matches up with other teams in the Central?
At this point, this whole episode should just be not great. That's what it is. That should be the title. Not great, Bob. I don't know. Like I said, like Gail said it perfectly. They've never been able to beat UC Saros. They've had trouble with him. They've had trouble with Ottinger. They've had trouble with Binnington. I mean, here's the thing though, like I said, can't get worse. Like you can hope that at least they'll have some good quality starts here and there for sure, but I just don't see how it compares right now. But like I said, you never know, but doesn't look very good still. That's what stinks right now. It's just, even if, like you said, other teams lose their goalies, you're like, oh, maybe there's a chance. And then you're like, there's really not. So, but yeah, like I said, you never know. Mrazek could do well, but I just don't see it. The team in front of him, it'll be hard to do it.
Yeah. Well, Mrazek was good in Carolina, but what was his defense in front of him?
Yeah.
So couldn't do well in Toronto. They have a pretty good defense in front of him too.
He was okay in Detroit.
okay at
when
times,
he was
yeah.
younger, but he
was also okay at times in Toronto. I mean, there was a few starts that we had was pretty good, but he was not healthy last year too. So
I also don't think he's ever been really given an opportunity to be a true number one. And I think
he's in Detroit too.
Because he was splitting with Howard and so it just kind of seems like he never really got that true number one opportunity, and now he can this year. He was actually a goaltender of the future in Detroit for a bit there. I actually thought they shouldn't have traded him away at the time, but a lot of people thought that, Matt, and I think you probably heard a lot of that from Devin on the grind line. Why he was a big fan of Mrazek, but that's back when Detroit didn't know where to go with the goaltending, and now hopefully, knock on wood, they're okay as well. So
we will see. We have a couple former Red Wings on the team right now. Talk about Athanasiou there too. But it's going to be interesting to see how the goaltending kind of shakes out. But let's talk about a bonus question, which we don't usually have asked on the other previews because the coaches have pretty much stayed the same. But this one's a new coach coming in from the Montreal Canadiens, a brand new in the NHL. So I want your thoughts on Luke Richardson. His first season as head coach. What are your expectations of him going in? I know you guys kind of touched on him when he was hired, but now they've kind of had some time to digest and get into the season. Gail, we'll start with you. What are your expectations in his first season as the Blackhawks head coach?
I am really excited about Richardson and how he handles his debut as an NHL head coach. He brings extensive experience, as we know, 21 years in the NHL, assistant coach for 8 years with the Ottawa Senators, New York Islanders, and most recently with the Montreal Canadiens. He also was an AHL head coach with the Binghamton Senators for 4 seasons. So nobody seems to have a bad thing to say about this guy. He's known to be a player's coach, but he also demands respect and accountability. And I just think that this is a great opportunity for somebody like Richardson, who is on the fringes. He's been on the fringes as an assistant coach for many years, but now this is his chance to take responsibility, to have his own team as a head coach. And even if that said team isn't very good, it isn't supposed to be very good for a while. I think that this is all part of the challenge for him.
Well, I've heard a lot of good things from, Montreal when he was in Montreal there too. And he was he was coach during the Stanley Cup final run when he had to step in as the head coach for a bit there. So, when Ducharme had COVID and couldn't be behind the bench. So I have high expectations of him. I think he's going to be really good in Chicago eventually when he gets, everything kind of comes together with the young guys. But I'm anticipating a lot from him in the future. Brooke, I want your thoughts on Luke Richardson as well. What do you think about his expectations going in?
I like Luke Richardson a lot, especially from talking with Melissa Boyd, who is the Montreal Canadiens writer at the Hockey Writer. She was telling us how great Luke Richardson is and how she wished that he was their head coach, but it didn't work out that way. So, but I'm also more I'm going to let it ride out because he is coming into a kind of a unlucky situation here with the roster he's inheriting, and it's not going to be easy. I don't expect him to come in and make the team Stanley Cup contenders on day one. It's going to be a process, but I'm excited to see how the team reacts to him, and I think they will react to him really well. I think he will get results out of him. He knows Max Domi. He was there when Max Domi had his career year in Montreal, so he knows how to get the best out of him. I'm sure he does for the rest of the team too. He's got some tricks up his sleeve. So like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic with him for sure. But as long as he, just gets the players to do their best and has them ready to play, that will be a success in my book for him for a first-year head coach for sure.
I love the hiring that Montreal did with Marty St. Louis, but I do think Luke Richardson would have been a perfect fit for them. And I think the Blackhawks are kind of playing a similar type of rebuild and style to their game right now. So I think he'll be a good fit in Chicago as well.
Yeah, I do too.
All right, we're going to move over to our quick fire segment. I'm going to ask both of you questions and have you answer in about 1 to 3 sentences, and just give us the first thought that comes to mind for this. So, Gail, I'm going to start with you. What's the biggest storyline and or question mark heading into the 2022-23 season for the Blackhawks?
I think I'm going to stick with Lukas Reichel, whether or not he's going to make the team.
All right, Brooke?
I think we can continue to harp on will Kane and Toews be there, but I'm kind of sick of replaying that. So mine is, I think the biggest question is, how will the team mesh together? Because everyone's expecting them to be so bad. And like I kept saying, not great. But you just never know. They might actually mesh pretty well together. You never know. So that's going to be my big question.
I like it.
Good one.
Yeah.
All right, Gail, I had 1 or 2 breakout stars on the Blackhawks.
All right, I think I'm going to go with, I think that Max Domi is going to have a big impact. And I'm going to name Sam Lafferty.
Heck, there we go. Brooke, what do you think?
I picked Taylor Raddysh because I think he can only get better. And I also had Max Domi on there too, just because at this point, the expectations are really high for a 1-year contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's another player that's going to have a lot of eyes on him
For sure.
throughout the season. So,
Yeah.
All right, Brooke, pick a player that needs a bounce back from last season.
Everyone. I'm gonna go with Jonathan Toews. He had a really bad year last year, but he got better as the year went on. So I'm gonna go with Toews.
Gail, you?
Seth Jones needs to bounce back.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a big one. All right, let's go with X factors now. Gail, we'll start with you. X factor for the coming season.
We've already kind of named them as breakout players, but I guess I was thinking Taylor Raddysh, to be honest with you.
I like that.
Yeah, I can see him as that. Brooke, what do you think?
For something different, I'm gonna go with Petr Mrazek. Like I said, there's not really high expectations there because he has struggled, but he has proven he can be dependable. So he could have a really good season in net.
Yeah.
All right. There's not a lot of depth with the Blackhawks. So give us one rookie or prospect that could surprise and make the roster out of training camp. And Brooke, I'm going to start with you.
I had 2, and that's Colton Dock as a forward and Ian Mitchell on defense.
I like it.
Nice.
Gail?
All right, I'm going to stick with the guy I talked about before, Alex Vlasic. I think he'll make the team and do well.
I like it.
There we go. All right, we've mentioned quite a few players, but Brooke, what other players should fans be watching that we have not mentioned on this preview yet?
I'm going to say Philip Kurashev. He just signed a 1-year deal, and the Blackhawks really have high expectations for him to really have a breakout year. So I think he'll be the one to watch for sure. Yeah,
Kurashev for sure. Gail, what do you think?
I am going to highlight Mackenzie Entwistle. 5 goals.
I like Entwistle.
Yeah.
Yay. Yeah. 55, 5 goals, 7 assists. He's established himself as a regular, and he's got some sneaky offensive skills. So he'd be somebody to watch this season.
That's a fantastic call out, Gail. All right, Gail, coming over to you first. Who's going to lead the team in scoring for forwards?
Patrick Kane. As usual.
Brooke?
Yeah, Patrick Kane. I don't think there's much competition there.
Easy. All right, how about for defense? Brooke, who's going to lead the team in scoring? Defense.
Seth Jones.
Gail?
Team, this is easy. Seth Jones.
Yeah, that part's easy.
Hopefully he'll get some more goals this season than assists, though. Well, more goals than he did last year.
So we recorded the Capitals earlier. I'm sure it's going to come out on a different day. And basically that was one of the only other temes that was like, yeah, it's Carlson and Ovechkin. Duh.
Yeah.
Why even ask?
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about, this one we've talked about trades, but Brooke, we'll start with you. One player that could be traded before the deadline.
Oh, do you know what? I'm going to go dark horse here, and I'm thinking maybe Taylor Raddysh could be. I want him to stay, but if he breaks out and he has a high market, especially because he's 24 and a lot of teams could use him, I think he could, even though I want him to stay. I'm not advocating for that at all. Just
I like it.
It's a good one. Good pick. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Gail, what do you think?
I think I would just stick with Patrick Kane.
Yeah. Easy one.
Yeah.
It depends on when he decides he wants to go, but
true.
Yeah, I could see him getting a lot of interest at the deadline for sure. If he's still around. So we'll see.
All right. big question here. Where will the Blackhawks finish in the standings, and will they make the playoffs? Or should we say, will they get a lottery pick? Brooke, we'll come to you first.
Really, Kyle? Really? Really? You know what? I actually, for something different, again, dark horse here, but everyone has them 6th in the Central, and I'm going to go a little different and go 5. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but Winnipeg to me is kind of a weird one there. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. I don't know. And like I said, I got Arizona last, but I'll go 5th for something different, but definitely in the bottom 3.
I like that. And I think Hellebuck needs to have a really big bounce back season this year for Winnipeg too, or else they're going to struggle.
Yeah.
Gail, how about you?
I went ahead and went with the popular opinion. I picked 6th, and no, they're not going to make the playoffs. I think that they'll probably finish though ahead of the Coyotes and, like you said, the Jets.
Okay.
They will sneak in.
See, I should change this question for teams that are not.
Is Bedard on the radar? That's what.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm changing that to Arizona. Arizona's tomorrow is getting Bedard instead of
playoffs.
That's gonna be a different question. All right, let's get to a fun one here. Brooke, we'll start with you. One bold prediction or a hot take for the coming season.
Do you know what? This actually came from our Blackhawks team. And I'm going to say maybe Max Domi could be behind Kane in scoring. I don't know if that's a hot take, but he struggled sometimes, but who knows?
I like it.
Good one.
Good
one.
Big year for
All right,
Max.
Gail, what do you think?
Okay, so my bounce back or my pick here would be that I think Jonathan Toews is going to have a bounce back season. Last season, he had 12 goals and 37 points. But I think this season, he's at least going to have like 15 goals and 40 plus points. And that's before the trade line, because that's what he's working for.
Okay. We'll see what happens. I mean, the thing is the Blackhawks aren't going to be good. I mean, I don't think anyone's anticipating them to be good. They'd be really surprising if all of a sudden they were. But it's still going to be interesting to watch them. I mean, there's a lot of young talent still on the team. There's going to be, of course, the trade talk all the time about Kane. And so there's going to be stuff to talk about. There's going to be stuff to write about. So I definitely keep going. So on that note, we're going to get you guys to pick an article of the day from the Blackhawks team. It can be your own as well. Brooke, we'll start with you. What article do you want to highlight that people should be taking a look at before the season starts here?
I'm actually going to highlight Gail. She's been actually taking on most of our Meet the New Blackhawks for our series, and she just did Jack Johnson. So for those watching and you want to know more about him, do that. She also highlighted Athanasiou and Colin Blackwell too. So, and she's working on another one. So I would say go check out that series because she's got it covered.
Awesome.
Nice. All right, Gail, what do you got?
Well, thank you, Brooke. And you know what? I'm going to throw it right back at you. You recently wrote an article about, I forget what it was actually titled, but it was basically saying, well, maybe the Blackhawks are going to be better than we thought. And I just liked your arguments. And of course, as a fan, you like to think that way, even though it might not help the rebuild. But in the moment, you kind of always want them to do well. So check that out.
I want to say I highlighted that article. I don't know if it was on the show or in the morning skate, but that was a fun read. One of those hold on to your hats. They might not actually be that bad. So I like it.
Yeah, we have some positivity. These teams that are, gotta be positive sometimes. No one likes to be positive. Not even with teams that are good.
Otherwise, you're just gonna be miserable.
Right. And hockey is such a fun sport. There's no point in being miserable, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Even teams that are good get
that's true.
Not positive. So it's always good to be positive. Doesn't matter what team you're covering. So, or you're a fan of.
I'm sorry if I could just do one more shout out. I know that the regular 2 other members of our crew, Sean and Connor, weren't able to be here tonight, but I think we're all really excited. We're getting ramped up for the season to start. So be sure to check out all of our articles.
Yes.
We are getting ready and wanting to talk about training camp and all that.
We are ready to go to war.
I love it.
Definitely check out the Blackhawks writing team. They do some great work at the Hockey Writers. They cover everything from, I know, Gail, you have those regular columns throughout the year, and those Blackhawks bites, always like reading those, and the previews and stuff, all that stuff. So they do a great job covering the Blackhawks. So if you want to know about them, even if they're not going to be that good this year, there's going to be a lot of content for you to read. So definitely check all that out.
And you both are back on the audio version of your podcast, right?
Yes, we're kind of talking through the details right now.
So keep an eye out for that. Blackhawks banner coming back at you, at least in audio version. So
yes, and you'll be seeing them in our new quickfire videos that are going to be coming out. Just a little teaser. Whoever's watching this, you're getting the first talk about it. But there's going to be some great little videos about different questions, different quickfire questions we're going to throw at our writers. So look out for that as well. And both you guys are going to be on those, at times. But we got a huge group of them. I actually was really surprised. So thanks, and thanks for tuning in for this season preview on the Hockey Writers. Check out all of our other, if you like just watching previews, check out the other ones that are already out on the YouTube channel. We're going to have more coming in the next few days, or every day we're trying to get one out. So before the season starts, we'll have one for every 32 of the teams. So that's the goal, at least. So we will see how that all goes. Thanks for joining us, and definitely check out the Morning Skate newsletter as well that Kyle heads up, and check that out. Just the link is in the description below. So check out everything on hockeywriters.com, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that fun stuff. And we will see you next time on another season preview show.